When I first met my husband Dale in 2009, he was running his own farm business with support from his mum and dad, growing cereal crops and breeding bull goats in the northeastern wheat belt of West Australia. He's a very tall and handsome fella, and I had found myself married to a broadacre farmer in the rural community of Dalwallinu. As you may have gathered, I'm not from here. I'm from Birmingham in the UK, and I moved to London when I was 18, and I've pretty much spent most of my life living in cities, working in offices, doing business administration in various parts around the world. It was a big change. But I threw myself into country living, and I loved my job working at the Community Resource Centre in Killarney, which is a small satellite town of Dalwallinu, helping people with their office and IT needs and organising community events. Everything was going great, but I was struggling to find my place on the farm. I'm not a particularly practical, outdoorsy person, and I'd always be in the wrong spot whenever we were doing goat work, or I'd come home feeling really deflated after Dale had tried to show me how to use a piece of farm equipment or drive a tractor. It just wasn't me, and I just didn't get it. Fortunately for everyone, I soon got promoted to being a mum, and I had the opportunity to stay at home full-time with our son, Dexter. But it was never going to suit me to be a partner in a business that I knew nothing about. So I started reading, and the first farm book that I read was Joel Salatin's Folks, This Ain't Normal. This is an excellent commentary on food systems, farming, and generally how we eat in this modern world. And it was particularly interesting to me because I'd never really thought about where my food came from beyond cafes, supermarkets, and restaurants. But here I was living in this food producing district, and I still felt pretty disconnected from the food that I was growing out in the paddocks and what I was buying from the local store. I took my newfound enthusiasm for all things Joel Salatin to Dale, and I downloaded the audiobook version for him to listen to on the tractor during seeding time. He thought it was great, but he simply commented, "I'm not sure that we could do that here. We've got different soil types, we've got different rainfall events, we've got different pests, we've got different weeds." But he's never been against doing something different. So we started reading and researching together. And for all that Dale didn't think that Joel's ways would work on our farm, I'm not sure what I was witnessing was working either. We had huge amounts of debt for land and machinery. We had the annual costs of machinery maintenance, fuel, fertiliser, chemicals. Every year we invested huge amounts of money to put a crop in from our overdraft with absolutely no guarantee we would get a crop off. Most of all, I was experiencing stress, and not just from Dale. When the rain didn't come during the growing season, we all felt it. And the good years weren't celebrated as much as they should have been. It felt more like a sigh of relief. Of course, we did make money on our farm, or we wouldn't have had a farm business. But I often wondered, could we do things differently? Could we reduce the stress somehow? When we first started thinking about how we could do things differently, we used my business background. Could we pay our land off quicker? Could we reduce our costs? Could we get more grain off the paddock? And if you're a northeastern wheat belt farmer like we were, and you have about this much rain to grow a crop in, you dream about having this much rain to grow a crop in. So we started thinking maybe we should move our farm business. Let's move where they have a higher rainfall. We went for a trip down south, and as soon as we saw the Stirling Ranges, we thought, wow, this will do. We bought a small block in Kendenup and bought some old farm equipment and started playing at down south farmers. But here's the thing, in Kendenup, we've got different soil types, we've got different rainfall events, we've got different pests, we've got different weeds. And in many ways, Dale has had to learn a whole new way of farming. On our farm, we have heavy clay soils that are often water repellent, and we do enjoy the high rainfall in Kendenup. And in 2021, we had the wettest winter that the Great Southern has seen in decades. And who knows if this is the new weather pattern in this ever-changing climate. And where you get rain, you get bugs, slugs, and creepy crawlies. We decided to continue farming in Dalwallinu for 5 years, whilst trying to farm and buy land in Kendenup. It is 600 kilometres between the two farms, and we were having more children at that time. I literally felt like I might give birth on the side of the Albany Highway. So we haven't quite reduced our stress at this point, but the long trips are giving us opportunities to talk and listen to podcasts on alternative ways of farming. 2018 was a really big year for us. Graham Sate brought his 5-day nutrition course to Perth with the sales byline, "This course will change the way you farm." I booked Dale on, I told him about it later, and he reluctantly went along during a very busy time on the farm. He texted me halfway through the course and said, "This course will change the way we farm." And it did. He came back with fresh ideas, new enthusiasm, and a box of worms. After Graham's course, Dale immediately removed fungicides from our farm practices. Once he'd heard how bad fungicide was for soil biology, he just couldn't unhear it. Pesticides were the next to go, for the same reasons, and their overall impact on the farm's ecology. And Graham had shown us that it was better to help the plants with nutrition rather than trying to fight pests and diseases with chemicals. So how do we grow our crops now? Well, we do still use a pre-emergent spray. So we have a little bit of herbicide, but we've dramatically reduced how much we use. And we add in fulvic acid and citric acid to help make the chemicals work better. We do this as a pre-emergent spray because we want to clear the land of plants before we put a crop in. And we do it because we don't want to till the soil. We want to keep the soil structure intact. We spend the rest of the seeding process doing everything we can to build the soil's biology. We dress our seeds with an on-farm made vermicast, and we add in humic acid and fish hydrolysate to feed the soil fungi. We use organic fertilisers, and then throughout the growing season, we ask the plants, using a plant sap analysis test, what minerals it's deficient in. When we get the results back, we do a foliar spray across the farm, and it all helps to create nutrient-dense, chemical residue-free grains. We know this is working by the healthy plant root systems that we have on our farm when we dig them up and we can see them. And once we've harvested, we get our grains tested to make sure there's no chemical residue on them. We've also diversified how many different types of crops that we grow on our farm. In comparison to our Darwinian days of 3, we now do 11. We just harvested 11 different types of crops. And we've added in ultra-fine merino wool, which we rotationally graze around our farm, with plans to add more livestock in the future. What we do know now is that we didn't need to move down to the Great Southern to change the way we farmed. All we needed to do was focus in on the health of our plants and our soil. In many ways, it has been more stressful, but it's certainly been worth it. We love living in the Great Southern, and we love being Great Southern food producers. We have connected in with bakers, breweries, farmers, and retailers who love being able to buy what we produce locally and in small quantities. We, in turn, love connecting in with these businesses and taking away their waste products that we use in our on-farm compost system, which all helps to grow next year's crops. So this is it. We have changed the way we farm, and I have found my place on our farm business helping to sell and promote our farm products. I feel so connected to what we do, and having been side by side with Dale, learning this new way of farming, I can explain to our customers exactly what our farming practices are and what our farm produce is all about. Most excitingly, I love our passion and excitement for what we do. Myself and Dale are just constantly asking, what else is possible? What else can we grow on our crops? This newfound mindset is probably our biggest strength. When things go wrong that we have no control over, we feel prepared. Ultimately, placing emphasis on the health of our soil feels like the strongest foundation for us, for our family, for our farm business, and what the planet is crying out for us all to do is to keep hold of our topsoil and do everything we can to keep on building more. Thank you.